is one very simple way that we can stop all the deaths in Minneapolis, stop all the public executions, get these freezing protesters and demonstrators back into their homes, and stop the absolute shitstorm that's happening in Minneapolis right now. And that is to get ICE the fuck out of town. Get them out. Get them done. One decision. But instead, Trump, of course, just announced that instead of doing the one thing everyone's asking for, he's going to be sending them Tom Homan, his border czar with the ham face, to take over operations there instead, just to escalate things. But here's the one win we can hold on to, because in these dark times is a win. And in all this chaos, what we are seeing is that Kristi Noem just got very publicly benched, thrown under the bus by her own White House. And she might, not the laugh, Mike, and she might actually be done this time. 2 public executions. And they were so bad that Trump is now starting to sacrifice his own Homeland Security Secretary just to save his own ass. And real quick, I'm Loren Piretra. This is Willa Piretra. She'll continue to bring the ball to my lap this whole video. So please take a moment and make sure you're subscribed. If you are, turn those notifications on. Make sure you've got your notifications on. Hype this video if you can. It's only available on mobile because we really need to maintain our lead on Katie Miller, who is the wife of Stephen Little Bitch Miller, the white nationalist from Santa Monica behind all of this terror. And wait till you hear what Stephen Little Bitch Miller had to say for himself. And a reminder, I bootstrapped this podcast. I put my career on hold. So we can't do it without you. Subbing is free, and it takes all of us to fight this fascist regime. So let me walk you through what just happened, because this is absolutely wild. And this is the setup. After Alex Preddy was killed on Saturday, shot in the back by federal agents in Minneapolis, Kristi Noem went hard. Shamelessly, she called him somebody who wanted to massacre law enforcement. She said he wanted to inflict maximum damage. She held a press conference doubling down on this, painting Preddy as a violent threat when in fact he was just an ICU nurse trying to be out there to help people. She said he had tried to attack officers. And then, of course, Stephen Little Bitch Miller, from the comfort of his little white nationalist headquarters, went on air and onto Twitter and took it even further. He called Preddy an assassin and a domestic terrorist who tried to murder federal agents, which couldn't be further from the truth. Multiple videos show the complete opposite. And the footage shows Preddy holding his phone when an agent pepper sprays him in the face directly. Preddy moves to help another protester who got sprayed, a woman. He gets tackled. You watch him get beaten, and then you watch him get shot multiple times in the back. An officer is then seen taking his gun and walking away before he's even shot. So the story Noem and Stephen Little Bitch Miller sold, it all fell apart within hours. As soon as we all start seeing this video with our own eyes, there were several videos. So before we get into any further on Kristi dog-killing Noem and her public shaming today, you need to understand who she is. She killed her own dog, killed her own goat, not just her own dog, she killed her own puppy and bragged about it in her book because she thought it would make her look presidential. And then she fabricated a meeting with Kim Jong-un to sell books. Never met him, never even stared him down, just invented an entire diplomatic encounter with a nuclear dictator and put it in print. And when reporters caught her and were like, this doesn't really sound so true, she refused to admit it. Trump put her in charge of Homeland Security. Somebody who lies about meeting with dictators and very much bragged about killing a puppy and her goat. What kind of monster does that? So the way normal people lie about their commute, that's what she put this in a book. Like, if I asked you, did you take the subway or the bus today? And when reporters confronted her about it, I'm going to show you the clip in a second, she refused to admit she even lied. Watch this.
Talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one. Quote, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all. Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days, and that those edits will be in place, and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I've met with many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book. And as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted. So,
did you meet with Kim Jong-un or not? She can't do it, and she won't do it. And people want to give her the benefit of the doubt. They're trying to give her the Benny of the D here. Oh, it was just ghostwriters or mistake. She's not the author. Cool. Then say that, Kristi Noem. Say it. Say, my ghostwriter fucked up. I wasn't paying attention. I had a lot on my plate. I never met him. We're correcting the book. Done. But she won't. So shameless, because the lie served its purpose for her and made her book look tough to a bunch of ding-dongs during her VP audition for Trump. It elevated her profile, and Trump saw that as willingness to lie about stupid shit. So she was in. And he thought, perfect. Who do I want run Homeland Security? And Glenn Greenwald on Twitter is right. Why not just answer the fucking question? Because she's a fraud who got caught and still won't own it. Trump didn't hire her despite the backlash. He hired her because she's a liar. And she passed the Trump loyalty test. The lying is part of the qualification. So fast forward to today and watch what just happened to her. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt got asked directly, does President Trump ask what Kristi Noem and Stephen Little Bitch Miller said about Alex Preddy? And watch this.
Mary. Thanks, Caroline. To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Okay, so Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Little Bitch Miller called him an assassin. And does the president agree? Leavitt says, I have not heard the president characterize him in that way. Then the reporter goes, was he alarmed that his top officials were referring to him in that way? Leavitt doesn't answer. She publicly is starting to create some distance from Trump and his own Homeland Security Secretary in front of the entire press corps. Then she added this line. And if you know anything about politics, this is the kind of like their kiss of death. Trump still has confidence in Noem. When you have to say somebody still has confidence, it means they don't. That is a clear way to say, I don't trust shit. And then Trump just made it official. He just announced he's sending Ham Homan, the guy that took $50,000 cash bribe in a kava bag, his borders are, to Minneapolis to take over ICE operations. Wait a second. So Kristi Noem is the Secretary of Homeland Security. ICE reports to her. Literally, it's her job, unfortunately. But Trump is benching her now. And he's putting Hammy Homan in charge instead. And this is a very public demotion. It gets better. So Greg Bovino, the Border Patrol commander who's been, the face of Trump's aggressive street raids. We just did a story on him and his villain origin story. Of course, he comes from immigrants in a violent family. No surprise there, but he's busy doubling down on the reason why they kidnapped a 5-year-old. Anyway, he's been the face of Trump's aggressive street raids, and he also called Preddy a would-be massacre threat. And Trump is pulling out the people who created this mess and replacing them with somebody, Ham Homan, who's known for targeted enforcement instead of sweeping street grabs. Compare that to what happened 3 weeks ago, less than 3 weeks ago. So when Renee Nicole Good was executed earlier this month, Trump immediately defended the ICE agent. You remember that? He called Good a domestic terrorist right off the jump. The entire administration then backed Noem and their agents without any hesitation. But after Alex Preddy's execution, the second one in 3 weeks, Trump suddenly says, we're reviewing everything. He's being careful, and this intentionality is interesting. He won't defend Noem. He's sending somebody else to clean up the mess. And the difference tells you everything about where Noem stands right now and the reason Trump is scrambling. The numbers are brutal. Look at a YouGov poll taken after Preddy's killing. It showed support for abolishing ICE at record high. There's no way to reform these masked militia, secret police in the street executing people. You can't reform that. So it's promising to see public support at record highs here. More Americans support ICE then support the abolition of ICE, then oppose it at this point, which is huge. And get this, nearly 20% of Republicans want to shut down ICE entirely. 1 in 5 Republicans, Trump's base, which is everything he does is a loyalty test, they now want to abolish ICE, the agency at the center of all this immigration bullshit. Trump's approval rating on immigration is cratering. Even his own party is turning on him. His own party is publicly having a breakup with him too. Rep. James Comer suggested pulling ICE out of Minnesota entirely. Senator Bill Cassidy said the credibility of ICE and Department of Homeland Security are at stake. Senator John Curtis called Noem's response premature. Senator Rand Paul demanded testimony from ICE and Border Patrol leaders. Then, this one really threw me through a loop this morning. Greg Abbott, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a staunch Trump ally, said that they need to recalibrate. When your own party starts questioning your Homeland Security Secretary's credibility, you're toast, man. This is not good. Then 2 former presidents did something that they rarely do. We heard from Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, both, again, former presidents, publicly condemned the killing, both the killing and Trump's handling of these public executions. Obama called it a heartbreaking tragedy and said Trump and his officials seem eager to escalate the situation instead of imposing discipline and accountability. And former presidents don't usually weigh in like this, but they did. And now Senate Democrats are ready to blow everything up over this. Before Preddy's killing, Senate Democrats were signaling they'd pass the DHS funding bill to avoid a government shutdown. It looked like it was going to sail right through, which was disappointing. And the reason why I spent many hours calling my congressional representatives from places I've lived, from places I've worked, from where I live right now, called my senators. But after Saturday, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer flipped. He said Democrats would oppose a spending bill that includes $64.4 billion for DHS, including $10 billion earmarked for ICE. And he went on to say, what's happening in Minnesota is appalling and unacceptable in any American city. What took you so fucking long, Chuck? Schumer said that, and now they're willing to shut down the government rather than give ICE any more money after this. Shut it down. We can't afford another kidnapping. We can't afford another neighbor being disappeared. We can't afford another public execution, the terror that these people are living through. So now Trump is suddenly Mr. Cooperation. He had a very good call with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the same guy he was viciously attacking on Truth Social just moments ago. I think it was literally just days ago. And he said that they're now on a similar wavelength. He's sending Hammy Homan to meet with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry tomorrow, and he's talking about cooperation. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Trump said at some point we will leave Minneapolis. The first time he suggested pulling out. This is damage control. This is full-blown crisis management from the worst administration in American history. And meanwhile, Noem is quietly getting the boot. Trump doesn't defend her. The White House press secretary won't back her statements. He's sending somebody else to run operations in Minnesota. Republicans are questioning her credibility. She's facing impeachment threats from Democratic governors. And look, Trump doesn't stick with people who become liabilities. We've seen this movie before. When your approval rating is tanking, when your own party is breaking ranks, former presidents are condemning you, and the Senate is threatening a shutdown over your agency, you become expendable. So Noem went all in on defending this killing, public execution. She painted Preddy as a violent terrorist. He was an ICU nurse. And when the videos proved that that was all a bunch of bullshit, she didn't walk it back. She doubled down. Now Trump is quietly pushing her aside. So where does that leave us? Kristi Noem might not get officially fired tomorrow, but she's already been benched. This is a really good sign. And we know insiders are telling us that something is going down tomorrow. Trump is replacing her in Minneapolis right now. That's already announced with Hammy Homan. The White House is distancing itself from Kristi's bullshit, and Republicans are questioning her judgment. She's toast. And the fact that Trump is scrambling to change course, pulling out Greg, sending in Hammy, suddenly being nice to Tim Walz, tells you he knows that things are spiraling out of control. To public execution, plummeting approval ratings, Republicans breaking ranks, former presidents talking shit, the Senate threatening a shutdown, and Kristi Noem just became the scapegoat. But you know what? You know what actually gives me hope in all of this? I know it feels like a very helpless time. I know what it feels like to feel helpless And when that feeling hits me, I try to start somewhere. I usually try to start by showing up at a coalition office, at a demonstration, anywhere I can go and be in community. Yesterday, that was going to the farmers market and supporting local vendors, farm workers. Then it was going to a phone calling party where we were calling the Senate, so I could do that in community. And anywhere that people are gathering in these times of despair, I want to be with people who are like-minded and feeling what I'm feeling. And because right now we don't have nearly enough folks on the ground, it is fucking freezing in Minneapolis. We've got these clowns, Kristi Noem and whoever else Trump sends. But where's everyone else? I really want to see walls in the streets more. I want to see the people who actually serve us actually be with us. I want to see them with protesters, with organizers, putting their bodies on the line. Representative Ro Khanna from California, where I live, and somebody who I admire and speak with as often as I'm able. Him showing up in Minneapolis hit me. A sitting congressman flew in after the second ICE execution. He's standing with local organizers. He's telling them they're not alone. And suddenly cameras are showing up. Media coverage is happening because a federal official is there. It puts pressure on everyone who's been silent. Other Democratic governors, members of Congress who haven't said a word, can't ignore it anymore. And look, this connects Minnesota organizers to a nationwide national network now. Resources, coalition building, and actual infrastructure. I know so many organizers who have been on the ground in Minnesota and Los Angeles and have been traveling through Chicago, Portland, so that way they can deeply understand what's happening and take those practices into the cities that are going to inevitably be occupied next. The movement just got bigger with Representative Khanna showing up. Plus, he can file federal complaints. He can demand DOJ investigations. He can introduce legislation. There are actual mechanisms for accountability for now, that not just local tests that get ignored. And if a congressman shows up after the second public execution, what happens after a third, a fourth? Minnesota just became ground zero for this terror. And I keep thinking, where is everyone else? Where are all the Democrats claiming they're with us? Where are all the people who are going to be running for president in 2028, who are going to be announcing their runs for the primaries? Because I want to see you out there, because showing up how we get started. And right now we need everyone. Again, I'm Loren Piretra. This is Willie Piretra, Willita. And please make sure you're subscribed, turn notifications on, hype this video if you're able to. Let me know what you want to talk more about next, because we really got to maintain our lead on Katie Miller, who's the wife of Stephen Little Bitch Miller. She made that choice consciously. She made that choice to marry Stephen Little Bitch Miller. And now she's building a podcast on the backs of trafficked children. So I bootstrap this. Subbing is free. It takes all of us to fight fascism. And we'll be back with more. It's Pseudo Girly.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.